All right, so we just threw somebody out. I think it's Claire. It's Claire. That was Claire, right? I'm sorry, sweetheart. You know, I really like you. I wanted to mold you, Claire, into a character. That's what you are. You're not a fucking forget all this bullshit. Whatever this you're trying to do with that thing that we will not say the name of it. No, I was gonna like a Svengali because you have the voice and you have this, you know, you have a way about you that we could have exploited in making you a sort of character. Uh, you know, take you on tour to through all the live streams. As it is, you know, you've done pretty well making yourself a character, but I think you'd probably alienate. With mind management, you would be the biggest fucking thing on the internet. Don Willis says, yeah, SK is shite, he says. I didn't even say that. I even think it's, you know, things that are not possible or realistic are things, you know, theoretical things that don't even, theory that doesn't even promise to yield any understanding or any effect in the real world. It's just a waste of time. And it's just, I'm against boring, Claire. I don't care about secular Koranism. I mean, I don't fucking care. But the idea of you and some earnest newcomer like Bowden, right? You sucked into your fucking, I picture you, your face on a spider in the middle of the web. You're going to bring Jim Bowden in and you're going to have that fucking argument about Islam versus the West and this shit. Yeah. An argument, obviously, that I take the other side, the side of guys who say, I don't think it's good for us. I don't, you know, that it's boring though. And it's meaningless. It's like arguing about the AK-47, right? Its design and everything else, and forgetting who's pulling the trigger on it. Like I say, it's like, look at the fascinating wheels on the machinery. Don't look at the man with his hand on the lever, which is all you really fucking care about. Yeah, well, it's too bad, sweetheart. It's pointless. I'm not going to have those fucking arguments. I'm not going to have them. And I'm just, you know, God, it's sad. Uh, you know, I have a young friend who wants to get into doing this shit, right? But he's at fucking Jordan Peterson level. This is why I'm kind of getting more radical and realizing what a dipshit I've been in the past for excusing half measures. You know, like people hang around Jordan Peterson and they spend time on those guys, the guys who are afraid to name people, you know, the guys who are afraid to talk about the ethnic conflict. Um, it's so fucking, I mean, I don't have time to bring people up to speed. I've been so slow myself to come to realize it. I realized up until I was well into my 40s, my whole take, my whole persona almost was affect. Affect. That is just acting, you know, and just reacting and behaving as I thought I was supposed to. It sounds so cliche, but it's fucking true. I was just so on the surface behaving, even when I was, you know, saying things at the time which were kind of based and shit. But it was still affect. I was all akin to, this is why I love that fucking book and movie, American Psycho, even though the author doesn't intend this. But one thing about that character, which I think strikes home, it should strike home to anybody, any of us now, has acquired this shallow existence. You can't help it because, you know, just the boring old reasons, because we don't have, you know, our needs are too easily met. We don't have religion. We have nothing that our ancestors had. We live on the surface. And, it's funny. Like today, I remember I'm noticing now tanning places, tanning spas, salons are still open out there. They're still everywhere. Like there's one around the street, around the corner, and it's tagged with graffiti and shit. But it's just so weird that they're still there. And I was looking at the one around the corner because it's a shabby little nook, and he's tagged, and there's like a guy sleeping on the sidewalk. I know it's so cliche. I didn't even get a picture, but the idea of that decadence, ridiculous decadence of tanning salons, amidst our homeless crisis. And I've got some amazing footage of stuff lately. I'm just going to take pictures every time and periodically post pictures. I know it's like it's homeless porn. No, I got to document it. So many crazy things I've seen that I haven't shown you. And I just want to show you everything, every fucking thing, every crazy person raving on the street. And they're just routine now. I was up at a friend's house in one of the nicer neighborhoods. He says, no, now it's just, it used to be great, because it's in the Shishi part of town, Alphabet District, I think it is, Northwest. He says it used to be like nice looking girls walking by and the lively scene. And now it's, a few people and always a random homeless person. So I'm talking to this guy. I said, okay, I'm going to take a little walk around and come back. And I just walked like 2 blocks up and back. And, I see a couple of windows broken out. I see a couple of homeless guys. And I see one girl who, I don't know if she's homeless or not. She's very young and she like could be good looking, but she's skanked up in her clothes kind of. But she doesn't necessarily look homeless or indigent, but she's wasted. And she's staggering, like zigzag staggering, like really wildly staggering and stopping on the street and doing this and shit. Nobody's helping. I didn't help. What are you going to do? Hi, Jim. I definitely want to start paying attention to what's happening to you guys down in Australia. I don't know what the fuck it is. I want to try and figure it out and start paying attention. There's so much to do here. And I really do want to find the time to start at least blogging regularly about Portland more. There's a lot of interesting things going on that I want to investigate. For instance, I noticed buildings are still going up in Portland in the midst of this. And all of them virtually now are the same buildings where they have to cut a deal with the progressive left and reserve a certain portion of the building for low income, or build another building entirely. They've got lots of them here. Buildings that are for older disabled, buildings that are for, they're not necessarily all bad things. 2 or 3 buildings for people who are nuts, kind of crazy, like halfway houses for people who are crazy but not committed. And the low income arrangement that you'll see everywhere, where they'll have maybe a couple of floors, a couple of lower floors are low income. But they've got entire buildings down by the waterfront where I hang out sometimes. There's 2 shitty buildings. Just one's brand new, and it's the shittiest building. And a friend says he asked the security guard, "Is it as bad as it looked?" Because we walked by it, and it's like, fuck, everybody's just a wreck who comes out of the nice building down close to the river, close to the South Riverfront here in Portland. He says, the security guard says, "You have no idea how bad it is." And so they build these little buildings and they fill them up with, I don't know how these guys become clients, the people that get in these buildings. But that's the arrangement, and these buildings are still going up. A couple of big projects in Portland going up fast. And so I'm just wondering, I'm certain that this is happening, that there's a realignment taking place in real estate too. And this is accelerating their whole plan to densify Portland with more black and brown people. It's still too deadly white for them. I saw a black albino today. I think I'm going to call that good luck. When I see a three-legged dog, for a long time ago, I don't know why I decided to call that good luck. It's for some reason I like to see it when someone is keeping a three-legged dog for a pet, and it's hopping along and it doesn't even know it's got three legs. That's good luck. A black albino is good luck too. Don Willis says a hard reset is coming. No mercy will be shown. Anyway, this was supposed to be topical. I like that I got the light. I think it's the camera because I've got lights on in here and it's not registering, but I like it because you can't quite see me very well. Anyway, this is going to be topical. I'm just going to read the news about that train wreck. Curious thing about the train wreck, though, is that's not even on the way. That's not even in on. I wonder if that makes a difference. I'm just using my shitty headphones because the Yeti won't work for some reason. And it might have to do that. I'm on a Mac now. I'm running Chrome on a Mac because you can't use Mac's Safari browser with Melon. And Chrome runs a little weird on Mac, I suspect. And I'm getting this weird thing where I can't use my Yeti mic. It's too late, and I'm too damn tired to get angry and throw a tantrum like you normally do. All right, let's go to the chat before we go to the news. Don Willis says, free speech is wonderful, but I think we all know what Claire's going to say, so there's that. Yeah, free speech is great, but there's no place for it here. No, here speech is ruthlessly excised. And again, did I even get around to it? I meander. The reason Claire is out for good. I'm done with you, sweetheart. The reason she's out is because I don't want boring. I don't want boring. I don't want cringe. And I don't want a debate on Islam versus the West, which is essentially the secular Koranism debate. How I said it. Fucking said it. No, Claire, I love you, Glenn. I really do. In a way, I guess one day we're all going to be off in some other astral plane. Heaven, call it heaven, hell, who knows? But we will all meet again after this is over. That's why I became obsessed with that Eno song, Just Another Day on Earth. It's so beautiful. And the sentiment, which is essentially religious. It's hard to think the soul is going to expire when you get older and you're about to expire. But as I always say, and I probably read it somewhere, it's certainly been said, consciousness itself suggests highly of divinity, the existence of a soul, or the existence above all of a higher consciousness. Hi, Jim Bowden again. I already said hi. John Willis says, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, these devices have brought out the worst in us humans. Yeah, they may have ruined my life. They may have been one means by which I ruined my life. Virtually the last 15 years, this thing has been if not one of the most exigent features of my life. It's sad. And if I were to come clean, my friend, if you were to come clean, maybe, there is shame and sloth and waste. And that's why Claire Cross not here anymore. And no, there's no time. And this is why I'm getting angry with people, like I was talking about before, with the stalling stages of, hang, hanging around and talking again about Islam and communism and anything but who. It's trying still to hammer through something like civic nationalism, hammer through citizenism, just make it work, and at this point, because, was it Theodore Adorno, the Jew, who said, after Auschwitz, all poetry is barbaric. Well, after what, Floyd, for us, all civic nationalism is barbaric. It's not right. It's wrong to pursue it. I'm not sure what that Jew was on to. I think they have kind of tried to kill poetry, the fuckers. Uh, they'll throw everything on the ash heap. They'll throw everything on the funeral pyre if it suits them, if it benefits them. And it's time for us to say humoring these people is barbaric, to not confront them. And I'm not saying hate them. I'm not saying be anti-Semitic or racist or anything. But just any discussion of these things has to, and I can't even say it here. I'm not even saying it. You know why? But it has to. We all have to. People, anyone who doesn't accept the premise, right, the prior, that this is essentially a battle between these two Abrahamic faiths. If you don't accept that, if you think that's like trivial or not, no, I think we don't have anything to talk about. I'm sorry. Maybe we could talk about music on an off night. Infinite soul you cannot destroy. Charles Manson. Well, that sucks. That's a shit lyric. That's right. Is Charlie Manson dead finally? Don Willis says, seasteading is where it's at, my bro. Free communities form break. Is anybody seasteading? Somebody's doing it. But if you're so rich that you could seastead, you'd just do something else, buy an island or some shit. I would certainly buy dirt before I fucking build something. But yeah. Vi, who says super cringe. What is super cringe? Did I cringe you, Vi? I hope not. All right. So anyway, that was your pointless, meandering opening to September 26th. It's the wee hours. Sometime after midnight. Which is, this for me is like the last couple of hours of the night. I'll usually crash an hour or two after this, right? Sometimes I'll be out here. And sometimes I'll unwisely, I used to, I don't do it anymore, start streaming like this. I just come out here all sleepy and bore people. Jim Bowden says, small hats and Pope's little hat, no difference. Sad between, I'm a traditional Catholic. I don't know. I was listening to something funny. Radio. Portland radio. It sucks for music, but there's some weird, interesting shit out there in radio. There's quite a few religious channels, believe it or not, in Portland. And of course, outside of Portland, it's very different from inside Portland. And these stations are not all, just in Portland. But there's good Catholic radio. It's not half bad. And there's there's a couple maybe. I don't know if it's the same one. But I think there's at least two, the stations or just these programs that I'm running across are evangelical programs. Like the one I was listening to tonight talked a lot about, it was anti-woke, so it talked a lot about that, but didn't really take on BLM or anything. And invoked, like I said, the the communist thing, played that up. And then I find out it's Rabbi Schneider. Rabbi Schneider, should look him up. Rabbi Schneider is he's an evangelical rabbi who does this shtick, is preaching to the evangelical Gentiles. So he comes in there, and that's again, this whole station appears to be probably funded by you know who, and it's centered on this weird evangelical Christian bridging with Israel bullshit, and it's drawing people in by talking, you know, somewhat true stuff about communism and the left, and you know, and everybody can agree that the Wokesters are out of control, and they're not afraid to go after the trans and stuff, you know. But then they'll come back around to Israel, and they'll come back and they'll tie it back into Israel. So there's an effort, I think, and it's work, and it's, you know, and it's probably very cheap to buy yourself an evangelical station if you're the guys with all the money, you know, if you're the diamond merchants. So anyway, that's happening. A real estate developer realignment is happening, I think, now. Again, is another thing that's happening in Portland. Also in Portland, oh, I had the story. People don't know it. Can you hear me? All of a sudden, I'm worried that I've been muted. Of course you can hear. I've talked for like 5 minutes. People, yeah. No, can you hear me? Not, no, all of a sudden, I'm worried that fucking, it's really scary. How forgetful I'm getting. But yeah, no, I'm sorry that I'm just less and less religious and less, definitely less and less Christian in my philosophy. I just, yeah, it's tough because so many of the best people are traditional Catholics, or you know, people know Eastern Orthodox, which is what I would go with, just cause, you know, who wants to go with Rome now? Rome's had its chance, you know. And my eyes roll when I see people talking about Catholic doctrine and arguing over it. You know, that's another stall, you know. But you can't be a good Catholic and think that our struggle is bigger than your Catholicism, your Christianity, you know, and that's a problem for me. You know? Yeah, Si, who's an atheist Catholic, that's me. I'd go with something like that. Like I always said, you know, I would love to be a fake religious person in a religious community and just fake it. Who cares? As I always say, nobody ever thinks this is clever, but I think it is. It's a vast difference between traditional religions, which had you believe in fantastic stories about Jesus, about Moses, about that the great wars of, you know, Vishnu. Everybody has these fantastic tales that are harmless, essentially, to believe in. Because what's you know, when they tell you about Jesus, well, what's the point of it, really? Well, be good to each other because God sacrificed for you, so you owe it to him to be good. It's basically what it is. There's nothing wrong with that. Really, you can, the problem really is that you can go wherever you want, but if you kind of hew to it, you can see did pretty well. Whereas the new religion is about reality. The new religion is just as fantastical, it's just as crazy, and I don't mean to insult religion by saying that, but you know, it's, these stories are quote unquote crazy. They're wild stories. That's why they're miracles. You know, and the wokesters want you to believe in the miraculous every day. They want you to think that Caitlyn Jenner's a girl. Bruce Jenner's, well, can I say it? They want you to believe that Bruce Jenner is a woman. That's insane. And this is enforced with all the rigor almost of the old religion. I mean, they're not quite at the Inquisition level yet, but they're getting there. They'll run you out of your job. They're almost ready to start lining us up over it. So you see the difference is the religious miracles of the Bible, for instance, pay tribute to reality, to science and all of it. Because, if they weren't defying these things, then they wouldn't be miracles. They wouldn't be wondrous things, Whereas this new fucking wokesterism is just robbing reality every day. It's just throttling it, And at the end of all this shit, these new assholes are preening as, we fucking love science. God help them. They deserve, I almost hope hell is really there, because I know they'll be there with me. Father Spitzer has the best vid on what? John Willis says, I know God exists. I don't judge. I don't want to argue. I've died several times. I know he exists. That's my story. I talked to a guy who had that same story on the street the other day. Interesting dude. It's funny. They'll just come up and start talking to you. A homeless guy on a bike. There was a couple of hundred kids marching through downtown Portland the day before yesterday, maybe. Or maybe it was yesterday. Nice out. Beautiful day. And I was walking around Old Town again. And here comes like 100 at least, look like high school kids, not black bloc, marching down the street for climate justice or some bullshit. And I'm following along, and I saw them, and I got out, and I was walking over toward them in case anything crazy happened. I'd film it. And some old guy on a bike, like a handsome old guy with this leonine gray head of hair. He's probably not older than me, though. Everybody, I think, is older than me. Crazy fuck. He says something about the kids. Oh, these motherfuckers. They need to go Viking on it. They need to go Viking on them. Like, oh, yeah. And he starts telling me a story. And yes, he died and came back to life and changed. And he carries around it here. He says, right in here. He said, you should see in here. With all these muscles just burst out. And there's something in here. There's a guy in here. He says, this guy he's carried around it. And then he's just going on and with claim after claim. I'm like, wondering, some or part of it could be true. He was a professional wrestler. There's some local, and I don't want to write shit down, but I can't keep it in my fucking mushy head. But I would have went and checked this stuff. And he says he was a professional wrestler in some local Portland wrestling thing. He wore a mask, he says, that kind of wrestling. And he he won Olympic gold or something. So, that's bullshit. As a skier or something. And his problem started when he skied off a 100-foot cliff. It just goes on and on and on. Daniel Sinkowitz is sending us pictures. What is this, the whole movie? I just thought you were sending me a picture. Broken vows. Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I could be a priest at this point. This debate is not about, the debate over Christianity is not about whether God exists. The debate over Christianity is not about whether God exists, and then people, Christians forget it. Atheists forget it. Atheists embrace atheism because it's just a way to stick it to Christianity, right? To me, I guess I am an agnostic. I hate the phrase, but I am. Heard that, I don't know. And I'm like, I don't know. Kind of leaning toward now. But here's the problem, and maybe why we flee it. I can't divorce the moral aspect from. I can't imagine there is a divine power, a conscious power, that if not aware of me, but it kind of encompasses me. I can't imagine that and not being held accountable when I die for the sins. No way. There's no way. That I don't know the logic of it, other than it's just a reflex. Or maybe it proves that God is out there. That itself. But it's just as Western European fucking biology, I think, sometimes too. California Raw Bear says people have their reasons. So reasons for what? Again, the debate over Christianity is not a debate about God. And you guys, I'm not arguing, and I'm not trying to fuck with you. I mean, you take this stuff and throw it away, But I have to vent. So I mean, I'm just saying to my faithful friends, this is not, an attack, an invitation to fight or anything. I love you guys, but the Christian should take on something like Pascal's wager. Pascal's wager, of course, was you might as well believe, because if you're wrong about the existence of God, heaven and hell, and retribution, no harm done. You may have led a good life. But if you're right, you're right, Well, you have to ask yourself, okay, regarding Jesus, if we're right about Jesus, we're right, we're good. If we're wrong about Jesus, we are heretics, of the sense. We are in defiance of God. We are hoaxing mankind. I never accepted Pascal's wager. Pascal, obviously brilliant guy, but no, because you could posit anything. Pascal's wager is why we have that awful spaghetti monster bullshit. You've seen that, right? That theme. Because some guy figured it out. Well, I could just posit a spaghetti monster. How about that? See what you've done, Pascal? Hundreds of years later, and we're enduring this shit. Don Willis is leaving us. God damn it, Don. You were the only thing holding the chat together, and I'm sorry about the language. And now you're leaving us. Don Willis says, I'm a gambler. I will bet on the only guy who cheated death. Did he? Why? I mean, all right, whatever. I'm not going to talk about it because there's no point in it, Here I am doing exactly what I've been complaining about, wasting time, picking on Christianity. When we got me and Christianity, you got bigger enemies. All right, good night, Bear. I'm gonna come right back, and we're gonna talk about trains. What's funny about, not funny, God, I'm an asshole. I'm so fucking. What's curious about this train accident is that first, out of the blue, earlier today, I was thinking to myself, oh, Pete Buttigieg. Remember Pete Buttigieg? I was thinking, good old Pete Buttigieg is really successfully hiding out during the Biden administration's fucking chaotic last month or so. Pete Buttigieg has been nowhere to be seen. Transportation guy, right? He's hiding out, you know, probably in a public restroom somewhere, right? And then this shit happens. Oh, fuck. Oh, Pete. Anyway, I'll be right back. I think I can do this. I think I can play a song for you.